Hey everyone, I'm Tim Echols. Welcome to Energy Matters. We do want to help you save money on your power bill and to use technology wisely and to live a more sustainable life. My co-host is always from Decatur, Georgia, Casey Boyce. Casey, good morning.
Hey,
how's it going?
good morning. It's a great morning to be saving money and learning more about sustainability.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about sustainability, Casey, because I've just returned from a sustainable town planning conference down at the iconic Seaside, Florida. Many folks maybe have driven through there, even if you've never stayed there. I've technically never stayed in one of their 338 rental homes there, and I learned only really about 18 of those people live there. And so it is a rental community, and they charge an absolute fortune for those things. But it is so unique. That entire 30A development, KC, that runs from Inlet Beach on around and reconnects to 98 as you head down to Destin, Sandestin, and Pensacola, is really quite a stretch. They call it the Emerald Coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really interesting stretch. I was down there with my family in Grayton Beach a few months ago, and that was one of the original resort communities. But of course, Seaside and Seagrove and all those other places were developed much more recently than that. So, Tim, you were down there for a sustainability conference. What kinds of things did you guys talk about there?
Well, I gave the keynote address, and I want to go through some of the things that I challenged the group with. And there were town planners there from Panama City, from Crestview, from other places around the coast. And then there were a lot of out-of-town people there from both Georgia, Tennessee, mainly a southeastern thing. Mm-hmm. But as I kicked it off, Casey, I said one of the things that has been most hard to agree on is actually the definition of sustainability, right? What does it mean? So let me ask you, Casey, I'm going to put you on the spot. What does sustainability mean to you?
Yeah, so to me, sustainability is about operating, working, living, whatever you call it, in a way that can go on forever, right? So if you think about environmental sustainability, it is about our using resources from the environment in a way that the environment can replenish what we use, whether it's, trees or, food or, what have you.
Yeah, so, I suggested that there are some things that are, kind of required to be in the sustainable definition. But Seaside and the Seaside Institute and what they're doing there is really a lot about architecture, right? It's about making it pedestrian friendly. It's about having beauty, having things kind of fit together, being able to take, a piece of land that's kind of away from the beach as you go further in from Seaside in those communities, and be able to have a marketable piece of property there where people feel like, wow, this is beautiful, all this fits together. But Casey, one of the first things that I noticed, and I had noticed this before on previous trips down there, is that they don't recycle in Walton County, Florida.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's no recycling, and not only did one of the head of Seaside tell me this, and I didn't actually believe him. I thought, they're getting, Waste Management is getting this somewhere, and they're sorting through this, and they're eventually recycling. So I stopped a Waste Management truck, and I asked the driver. I said, I see you guys loading this up. I noticed there's no recycle bins. Are you taking this and sorting this? He said, nope, we're taking it straight to the landfill. It all goes in the landfill. And I'm going, okay, how sustainable can you market this if you are not recycling anything? I mean, does that bother you, Casey?
Well, yes, in one sense it does. In another, I mean, it's kind of the reality of things, right, Tim? I mean, the market for these raw materials, what people get is really, really small dollars. And so there's not a lot of economic incentive. And there are towns in Georgia, I'm not going to name names here, Tim, but that have curbside recycling programs that take that, quote unquote recycling and take it straight to the landfill. And, as you know, and our listeners know, I live in Decatur, Georgia, and we struggled with that, really finding someone who would take it and actually recycle it. And, City of Decatur actually does a recycling audit to make sure that the stuff that we say is getting recycled, but it's tough. The economics just aren't there.
Our good friend Ben Carswell, who's been on with us many times before, he's the director of conservation for Jekyll Island. He's just written an article, and you can go to the Jekyll Island Authority's website and see this, on sustainability, and kind of going through these definitions and what it means for that island to be sustainable and how you define that and when it stops being that. Mm-hmm. But recently I discovered that Jekyll Island, through waste management, they're not technically recycling their recyclables. They are going to a waste management special syngas facility, and the bottles are being burned for another type of fuel. And I know Ben, it bothered him a lot about that. And he asked me, hey, Tim, do you think this is hypocritical, or do you think this in some way, is wrong? And I'm going, well, you're not putting it in the landfill. You are using it for another purpose. And Casey, if you think about this circle of life, really, that sustainability is, where you're using everything. If you're using the recyclables to make some kind of syngas or some synthetic fuel of some sort, and then you're taking the rest of it to a landfill, and it's becoming methane gas and being used to turn a turbine and turn a generator, that still technically fits sustainability for me.
That's interesting. It's certainly better than just tipping it in a landfill. So, Tim, what else did you guys talk about besides recycling and your deep dive into their recycling stream there?
I talked about how that sustainability is really more like a puzzle than something with moving parts. Because if you think about something with moving parts and a lot of gears, if you pull out one thing, it messes up the other. And that's not the case with sustainability, in my opinion, is that you can have a community that's doing things that make sense for the community. And so just think about putting together a jigsaw puzzle. You can still see, the puzzle and make out what it is, even if you only have, say, 75% of the pieces there. But with a moving parts type of example, you pull out one or two gears and the whole thing breaks down. So I think that communities need to do, Casey, what makes sense for them. So maybe they're doing lighting, maybe they're doing efficiency, a solarized program like Decatur has done. I mean, Casey, you serve on the zoning board over there. Does this definition issue come up with you guys in Decatur, which is, I view as one of the most green communities in the state?
Yeah, I don't know that the definition issue comes up. And by the way, I really like your framing of it as a puzzle rather than gears. I mean, if you think about it, it's about a journey to be more sustainable. It's not about it is or is not. It's not a black and white thing necessarily. I think where, I've seen us get tripped up as a community is really getting to the conversations about, well, what is important to Decatur, and, who do we want to be in the next 10 years? We're actually in the midst of a strategic planning process right now where that question is really very much at the forefront. And a lot of the pieces, whether it's transportation or land use, certainly tie into sustainability. But we haven't started with that question of what is sustainability.
I think, Casey, you brought up a really good point, that is the community being forthright? Are they deceiving others by telling them to recycle and then dumping it in a landfill? So I think honesty, integrity here is important. There is such a temptation, I think, out there for officials to put forward this image, right? And then if you're not doing it, then it really does look bad, and they're just hoping that no one else, kind of discovers what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that are meaningful that are not terribly visible, and there are things that are visible that aren't terribly meaningful, right? And so to give you an example, land use has a tremendous impact on sustainability, including transportation and building emissions and things like that, but people don't really think about it that much. The flip side, and this is, more for a city of the size of Decatur, plastic bag bans, right? very visible. But you know what? If Decatur banned plastic bags tomorrow, it would make no impact whatsoever, right? So, there's the optics of the thing, and then there's the reality of the thing. And when it comes to sustainability, it's really about reality. The world doesn't care about optics. The world cares about physics and biology, right?
Yeah, well, that's a good place to leave it, Casey. Thanks everyone for being with us for on Energy Matters Live. Let us know what you think about sustainability and what it means to you, what you think makes sense. So just hit us up at Matters Radio on Twitter. I'm at Tim Echols.
And I'm at Casey Boyce.
Casey Boyce. Have a great week, everyone.